everyone. Welcome to this episode of Unraveling the Veil with your host, Yara Rose from the yararose.com website. I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about today. I wasn't even sure I was going to record a podcast today, but it seems like it's been a very long time since I've reached out to everyone and given you an update on my life. I think it's because I don't have a lot of new concepts to share with you. I really feel like the last couple of months for me has been a repeat of everything we've already discussed. And I wasn't sure if you would want to hear more about those, but it has been a while since I've reached out, and I did want to just kind of give you an update on where I'm at and what I'm doing, because I do think that as we incorporate these concepts and we work with them, that all of us are going to experience a deeper level of implementing them, and we're going to peel back more and more layers in which the same concepts are going to be gone over again and again, as you peel back the layers of yourself, all the limiting beliefs, all of the concepts, all of the constructs, you have to again decide that you are going to love yourself and that you are worthy. Sometimes the fact that you've been carrying these things around and operating with them for so long can make you very frustrated at yourself. And that's where, again, you'll go back to, but I love myself unconditionally. So yes, I've been operating with these, and yes, this happened, and I understand how and why, and it's okay, and I still love myself no matter what. And then there's more layers of being aware of your emotions and being aware of how this has impacted you and healing from that and forgiving yourself. Like everything we've already discussed, it's more and more of those as the more we go internally and clean up what's going on in there and figure out who we are, what we're here for, why we are the way we are, and what we're going to do about it. And episode 10 was about surrendering what your protected personality or ego's expectations and ideals are for what it wants, what your life should look like, and being open to the possibilities out there that could come that maybe don't fit in with those expectations and ideals. And this is because our protective personality or our ego wants to keep us safe. It's been designed to keep us safe. And it's safer for us to stay in our comfort zone with very minimal growth that we're not comfortable with. So it wants certain things that seem realistic and logical, but nothing too crazy. However, I've found that I enjoy my life a lot more when I intentionally surrender these expectations and ideals. I literally do EFT tapping on this most mornings, surrendering these out and these expectations, so that way I'm more open to what the universe wants to bring into my environment, the things that I want to create and that I have asked for the universe to somehow bring into my world, into my existence. The things that I've asked the universe to manifest into my existence, it's very difficult for those to come in when my ego's in charge and it only has a limited growth mindset. Very limited. More fixed, I would say, honestly. And I enjoy my life a lot more when I surrender those and step out of my comfort zone. It doesn't have to be a huge step. You can gain so much ground just by stepping out a little bit each time, every time. And the last couple of months, I have literally been tapping this out every single morning. And I tap away the fear associated with it and the anxiety, because it is. Once you step outside your comfort zone, it's an unknown. And typically when I do that, when anyone does that, when you step outside, there's no going back. There's, of course, going to be a new comfort zone. Or, of course, you could try to go back, but you're never going to be the same person that you were before you stepped out. So there's fear there, because you know by making this decision, your life's going to change in one way or the other, but you don't know how. And that is where faith and trust in my spiritual community and my perception of God or universal love and intelligence comes in. I know I've talked to you before about doing this in small steps if that makes you more comfortable, about asking for help with something really small and being open to how it comes about in your life, how it manifests in your life. And the more you do that, the more trust you have in your community, your spiritual community, in your higher power, whatever that is. And I've been doing this for quite a while. And I've even taken a couple steps back and I, looked at my life from the bigger picture, and I realized that I've been doing this my whole life. I just didn't necessarily realize it. I realized how they've had my back my entire life, even though I wasn't aware of it. Every single time I found myself in this dark spiral or in this situation that I did not know how to get out of, I would ask for help, and somehow and in some way, a way out would come. A new possibility, a new opportunity would present itself, and I was able to get through those situations. Every single time I was able to get through. And living my life this way has really been amazing. It's so wonderful knowing that I am in control of creating the life that I want. If I don't like what's manifesting in the world around me, then I need to change my focus or my perception on it, because I created it in one way or another. And that I am working in conjunction with my spiritual community and with my higher power to continue learning and growing and experiencing life. I really can't find the words to express how wonderful, fantastic, amazing, spectacular. There's no word that fits how perfect and wonderful living life this way is. For me, anyways, I absolutely love it. I absolutely love waking up every morning and seeing a new sunrise and knowing that I have a day before me full of ripe opportunities and lessons and different experiences that are going to allow me to grow and become a stronger, more confident and capable, loving, compassionate person. I absolutely love my life. And I know I've said that before, but I can't express how amazing it is when you've done your internal work and you have gotten to the point where I'm at, and you seriously love every single day. You started off knowing that you are blessed, and that whatever happens to you that day is in part because you created it, and also you worked with the universe to create it. And how unbelievably powerful that is. I had an experience a couple of months ago now that demonstrates the power you have when you choose to deliberately change what you are focusing on, which also shifts your point of attraction. As you know, if you've listened to me for any length of time or followed me, I draw cards every morning to get me in a state of reflection and introspection, and to see where I'm at vibrationally wise and what kind of messages my spiritual community wants to give me right at the beginning of the day. Based on those cards, I know whether I am in a good frame of mind or whether there's some improvement that I can make on my point of attraction. And one day I had drawn a couple more negative cards that were along the lines of, hey, pay attention to where you're at, pay attention to what you're focusing on. Is this really what you want to be drawing into your life? And it made me think and realize that no, I didn't want my life to go in that direction, and that's certainly not how I wanted my day to go. So I went to my office and played the music that uplifts me and makes me feel lighter and happy, and jamming out in my office as I'm working, and I felt my whole vibration go up. And then I had to go into the office later to exchange paperwork. And as I'm driving, I'm in a great mood, and I do what I usually do. I start talking to my spiritual community and thanking them for always being with me and supporting me and loving me, and just expressing how grateful I am for their constant support and unconditional love. And all of a sudden, I saw a deer jump up onto the road, and I knew in that split second that there was absolutely no way I was going to be able to stop myself from hitting this deer. It was coming at me, and it was going to hit me right in the driver's side door. And the most amazing thing happened. At the very last possible moment that it could have, this deer tripped over its own back leg and sprawled out across the other lane to my left. And I drove by without an incident. And the car on the other lane that it fell in was far enough back where it was easily able to stop and wait for the deer to get back up and continue running across the road. And stare in awe for a moment at how crazy that this happened. Like, I cannot believe that a deer tripped itself and it has somehow, at the very last moment, it tripped and saved its own life, and it saved me from having to deal with that fun time of, hey, I hit a deer and all my cars got wrecked and I got to go to fix and all of that stuff. And I just shake my head and I say, thank you, spiritual community. Thank you so much. There are times when the universe lets us glimpse how a change that we consciously have made created a completely different outcome for us. And these experiences resonate so strongly with us that there is absolutely no questioning. This was one of those times, because I knew in that instant, had I not changed my point of attraction from earlier that morning, I would have hit that deer and I would have had to deal with all of that. And no, it's not a life or death situation for me anyways. It was a big deal to me that I was able to go on with my day without any incidents like that. And that's just one example of how I used my cards in the morning to change my point of attraction so I could avoid something that I did not want to manifest in my life. And I also every morning say everything is always working out in my favor, whether I realize it or not, because I truly do believe that that's accurate. Everything that is happening in our life is working out in our favor. And a lot of that also has to do with our vibration and what our point of attraction is and where our focus is. So for those of you that may go, how in the world is spilling coffee all over my shirt or getting a flat tire, all of these negative things, how are they in my favor? And honestly, I believe that every negative thing that happens in your life is an opportunity to show you where your point of attraction is. It's an opportunity to ask yourself, where is my focus? What am I focusing on that's drawing in all of these undesirable manifestations? It's an opportunity to get curious and ask, what have I been focusing on lately? What does my vibration feel like? Does my heart feel light and airy and full of love and opportunity and excitement and joy, or does it feel more heavy? Why is that? What perception can I have on that? How can I change my perception to a higher vibration, to feel a little lighter about that? Maybe I just need to put that topic away for a while. Maybe I need to zoom out. Maybe I've zoomed in so close on this problem that all I can see is this problem. But if I zoom out a little bit and I maybe look at it from a different angle or different side of the coin, I can see how everything's going to be okay. And maybe what I thought was terrible really isn't that terrible. And as you slowly start to shift your point of attraction, as you shift your perceptions, then you'll be able to look at your external manifestations and see if they're starting to be more desirable or not. And if not, then there's more work to do internally. I cannot stress how important it is to be aware of your thoughts and your vibrations and what's going on around you and in you and how you're feeling. I know I created a blog a while back about how things like a song, a video game, movie, TV, all of these external things can influence us on the inside, and how we should be aware of that, because I think, if I recall correctly, I gave the example of Dateline. My husband and I would watch Dateline every Friday night. I was such a crime show enthusiast. I loved watching how detectives came to the conclusion that they came to and how the whole justice system worked. And as my son got older, he would be up in the room and around, in and out, doing things. And the TV would start capturing his attention. And he asked us to stop watching it because it was really bothering him and he did not like it. And it was about that time I had just learned Reiki. So out of curiosity, one night I did Reiki on myself after watching Dateline. And I don't know what most people call it, but to me, I saw a lot of black in my brain. Like, it was just full of fear and things that I didn't want in there. It was such an eye-opening experience to see how my brain and my vibration was before I watched it compared to how after one or 2 hours it had changed so drastically. And honestly, I don't like watching it anymore. That's personal preference. I'm not saying that you can't watch it. I'm just saying just to be aware of how things impact you and make sure that you counteract and maybe watch them at different times, not right before you go to bed. Just an awareness of how things impact you and affect you. Then to bring this whole concept a step further, there are external energies all around us at all times. And these energies that are floating around may or may not resonate with something in our vibrational field. And if we're not aware of what's in our vibrational field, we may not realize how we are being impacted by the energies that are around us. And I have a couple examples of these. One is actually something that I heard on an Abraham Hicks Publications YouTube video. And it was talking about how a lady had come to one of the Abraham Hicks seminars and had developed this irrational fear of bridges. And she couldn't figure out why. She had lived around, I think it was the San Francisco area. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I apologize. But she had lived around this area that had bridges all over all the time, and she had drove them her whole life and had never had a problem, and had recently encountered this debilitating fear of bridges. It was so overwhelming to go over them. It was so stressful to go over them, and she couldn't figure out why. And after speaking with Abraham, they had found that at some point before this irrational fear started showing up, this lady's neighbor had her house broken into. So the community had organized one of those community watches, and they were all very scared about their houses being broken into. So she had this fear in her vibrational field, and as she crossed the bridges, there's so many people around that area that did actually have a fear of bridges. And that fear interacted with her vibration of fear about something else, and it manifested itself into this irrational fear of bridges. And it's so crazy that can happen, but when you start to understand energy and you start to understand that we have this vibration in our energetic field, and we are constantly going out in the world full of energies. So depending on what we encounter, it could vibrate with the energy in our field and make our problems worse or bigger, play off of each other, aspirate our problems to a larger degree than they were before. I have a couple personal experiences where this has happened to me. One day a couple years ago, I went to get my hair done at a salon, and as I pulled up to the road that the salon was on, I parked my car and I got out, and I noticed that there were little bows tied to the signs right in front of there, and then a couple of the trees, and it was just like they were everywhere. So I figured maybe there was, I don't know, some national holiday I didn't know about, or, I don't know, small communities have where they support someone that's sick locally or something. I just thought it was something like that. I didn't think anything else of it. I just turned, that's interesting, okay. And I went in the salon, and mind you, before this, I was completely fine. My day was normal. There was nothing major that I was dealing with, but I go in there, and after being in there a while, I start to have this really annoying worry about my kids and school safety and bullying and how that could impact them emotionally and cause them to get depressed and suicidal, and it was just spinning out of control. Like, I went from feeling it a little bit to all of a sudden it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I started really worrying about it. And I started talking to the stylist about school bullying and how it is in schools these days and just things like that. And it didn't seem at that point to be completely out of the ordinary, because I had a history of being bullied and depressed and had those thoughts in my mind throughout my life. So I hadn't noticed that it was totally out of the realm of where in the world is this coming from. That thought never entered my mind while I was in the salon. But as the stylist and I are talking about this subject, she said, well, we just had one of my son's classmates commit suicide a couple days ago. I was blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. I had no idea. And here, that's why the bows were on all of the trees outside, and that was representing of that girl. And she had talked to me about it and had said that one of that girl's relatives had actually been in earlier that day and gotten their hair done and was talking to her about it. And it just blew my mind. It really did. It wasn't until I started driving home that night that I realized that the tension was leaving my body and my thoughts weren't as agitated as they had been. And then I realized that I had been completely hijacked by these energies in this town. I had a small vibration within my field where I was worried about my kids and that possibility because of my past. And that whole energy around this town at that time was focused on that and was dealing with that and was bringing that out in other people. And I walk into it not realizing that and not being aware of that even having happened. And all of a sudden, my emotions were hijacked. I took in those energies. They magnified the energy I already had in my own field about this topic. By the time I had gotten home, I was completely fine. This experience was eye-opening to me because I didn't realize that this was possible, A. And B, it gave me an opportunity to realize that I had this energy within me that I wanted to work on and clear so that way I wasn't carrying it around with me. So even though it may seem, and like I talked about earlier, they may seem like a negative thing, they're actually in our favor because they're pointing out and drawing attention to the fact that we have things in our fields that we want to work on because we don't want to go places like that and have some sort of vibration that interacts with negative energies like that. Well, at least I don't. I guess I shouldn't be speaking for everybody, but I don't. And I've had this happen several times. You know, you go to a grocery store and you notice that someone's agitated about something and you're like, oh my gosh, that makes me mad too. And the longer you stand there, the more agitated you get about it. And it's just a snowball effect. It happens all the time. The more you're aware of it, the more you see how it happens and how it impacts you. And then at that point, you can choose how you are going to respond in that given situation. Are you going to let this energy magnify that vibration that it's brought to your attention is there and cause you to be frustrated and angry or whatever it is? Or are you going to say, hey, thank you for bringing this to my attention. I appreciate knowing that. I'm going to do what I can on the internal work, but I don't need someone else's energy. Thank you so much, but goodbye, and send it to the universe for that to be filtered into unconditional love, support, and abundance and reused. That's what I do, what I notice. That there's extra energies out there waiting to be utilized. It is really interesting how your world changes when you realize what different things are impacting you. I feel so blessed to be down this road. I feel so blessed that my life has taken me to where I am. I never would have imagined that I would be in the place that I am now. But here I am, and I love it, and I am becoming more aware of how life plays with us and our energetic fields and our mindsets and everything. It's just so interconnected and wonderful and beautiful and empowering, because when you have this information, you realize how much control you have over your life. And you can choose whether you're going to continue living life the way you have or what you're going to change about it and how you're going to change it. And you can play with this higher power and your spiritual community and ask them for things, and then let go, surrender your ego's personal expectations and ideals, and let the universe bring in these beautiful, wonderful, phenomenal opportunities that you never would have even thought to ask for. And the way they manifest is seriously so beautiful. I do not have words to adequately describe how wonderful the feeling is when something manifests in a way you never would have expected it. And you realize that, oh my gosh, here it is. This is what I've been asking for. I had a day, it was a Friday a couple weeks back, where I lifted my head up. You know how we all have these specific goals and dreams and things that we're working on, and we get our head ducked down a little bit, and we're like, oh, we're not there yet. We need to do this, and that. And it's just a cycle I get sucked up in, and I think I see a lot of other people do too. But for some reason on this day, I was in a very reflective mood, and I was just open and letting universe, show me things as it does. And I realized on this day how many dreams that I manifested for myself in the last couple of years, and how wonderful and beautiful that is. And I was so amazed at how it had all come about. I never would have imagined that it would have came about the way it did. I never could have foresaw it, but I had achieved it. I went from being a black thumb to rescuing plants and triaging them and saving their lives. And I looked around my whole office and my kitchen, and I saw all of these plants that I had kept alive for multiple years now. And it was something I had always wanted to do, but never thought I would be able to do. And they're physical, they're in your face, and they're lovely, and they're beautiful, and they're a piece of nature in my house. And then I looked at my job, and I was like, here I am, it's a Friday, I'm working from home, I'm jamming out to the YouTube videos that make me feel light, I'm singing along as I'm tapping in these invoices. And I remember graduating in the fall of 2009 and saying, I want to work from home. I had completed my degree at an online school, and realized how draining it is for me to be out among various people all day long. And my dream had been that I could get an at-home job doing the accounting with the accounting degree I just got. But yet I'd always do that. I doubted I would have the ability to do that I was smart enough to do that I was capable of doing it. And on this Friday, I looked around and I said, oh my gosh, I'm doing it. I've been working from home for a year and a half now, and my boss is extremely happy with me, and everything is going smoothly, and I'm doing it. I manifested my accounting dream. Oh my gosh, I did it. And then I look at my faith, and I had always wanted to find a belief in a higher power that I resonated with, because the dogma I grew up with did not fit me at all. But yet I knew there was something else out there. There was something else that helped to create this big world and helped it operate and function. And I have found that. I wrote a blog about finding faith, I think not this summer, but the summer before, and how amazing it is to finally have a concrete relationship of my own with God or higher power. It's seriously interchangeable to me. It's not one or the other. It's interchangeable to the same. I have that, and I talk to that being every day. And my life is a collaboration with them every day. And together we are creating this amazing life that I am so excited and so thrilled and happy and blessed to have. And I thank them every day for this amazing life. I can't explain how wonderful it feels to look around and look at all of these things that I always wanted and never thought were possible. And it reminded me, like, if I can do these, then these other dreams that I'm looking at and saying, well, I'm still not there yet, it's not a big deal, because I will get there. I will manifest them. And at that point, I'll have other dreams that I'm going to be working towards that are going to eventually come to me too, because I have faith in my partners, I have faith in myself, I believe in myself, and I know that I am a powerful co-creator with the universe, and that anything that I can dream up, I can manifest for myself. It may not be in the timeline that I may like, it may not be in the timeline I may think I want, but it will be in the timeline that fits me the best, because everything is working out for me. And I can't tell you how phenomenal it is to have a faith that resonates with you, a relationship with that higher power that you actually know to be true, you believe in, you feel it, and you can see it in your own way as it manifests, as the things you talk to them about and ask for and see and hear them talk to you about, and then they manifest, like you can see it that way. I can't explain to you how great and how big of an impact that makes on your life when you find that for yourself. Whatever it is for you, it will be your own. I don't have all of the answers, and I don't know the future, and I have things that I still am fearful about and wish were different and start spiraling out of control about, things that aren't going the way I thought they should or want them to. But the last 3 months have really taught me to let go and to surrender. To surrender my personal ego's expectations and ideals and be open to alternative options and possibilities that the universe will bring in. Because I speak with my spiritual community and my higher source every day, and they know what I want and they know what I'm looking for, and they can see farther than I can, and I do trust them. I've worked on building that relationship with them. I trust them. I know that they will lead me through path of least resistance to everything I ever want. And then I'll want something else, because that's how growing works and that's how expanding works. It's a co-collaboration together on this universe with my non-physical beings to create the life of my dreams. And I love it. I'm enjoying it. And I would love for all of you to have it too. But that's your choice. You can live your life however you want. This is just how I'm living mine. And I just wanted to present it to you so you know it's possible. And so you have different perception on things and a different perspective that maybe you never would have considered before. I really hope you've enjoyed this episode of Unraveling the Veil today. I know I've enjoyed talking to you. Thank you. With all of my love, Yara Rose.